Hello everyone, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. Welcome back. Part 11 now of this Seeking build. This is the brand new tool Airfix Seeking we're working on. And as you can see, part 10 we got all the canopy framing sprayed black, and then we've primered over it in grey, and we've done all the window frames and everything as well. So firstly, I still keep forgetting to do this down here. I mustn't go painting it. I've got to get some Mr. Leveling thinners on a cotton bud and get in there and get that Mr. Surfacer out. You can see I've put it all in around there, so I mustn't forget to do that. As you can see, I've painted the sponsons. So basically what I did, I painted the arms, the legs and everything in XF83. That's Tamiya, no that's XF19, Nigel. Tamiya XF83 medium sea grey. And then what I've done is masked it, and around the bottom, because it's a weird shape, I've used liquid mask to mask it. So we will be removing that to see how it looks. And the reason I've done this, I've painted these off the model because I feel that once it's on the model, it was going to be very difficult to get into here, into this area of my fingers now. So I've painted them off the model, and as you can see, I've put them on these metal spikes. These things are great. You get them from Premium Hobbies. They're Infini, and remember to use, I think they're Infini. Remember to use the code NMB10 if you buy anything from there, because you'll get 10% off your order. So so basically, somebody commented they would like to see me do some painting and masking, or masking and painting. So that's what we're going to do today. So I've got some Tamiya 10mm masking tape here. This is, I think, probably for me the best masking tape money can buy. It's very, very good. It doesn't tend to attack the paint. You can leave it on for a while. It doesn't leave any residue behind, and it's great for doing canopies and stuff, which if you go back you'll see me doing these. It comes in 6, 10, 18mm and 40mm widths. Funnily, the 40mm width is like a different kind of tape. It's not very sticky, and it's not very nice, I don't think. It's completely different material. It's not very nice tape at all. So if you're going to go for 40mm, there is the icky sticky stuff out there, which I've got some here and I've never bloody used, but it looks a lot better than the Tamiya one. And I'm not sure what else there is out there. But of course, you can use another tape you can buy if you're on a budget. Is this one here. This is frog tape. You can get this on Amazon and stuff. And as you can see, it looks very similar to Tamiya tape, like it is kabuki tape. But it's very nice to use. I generally use that for sort of, you'll probably see me use it on, like if I'm spraying the red and I've already done the grey, I'll probably mask off with paper, but then I'll fill in with this, you know, rather than use the much more expensive Tamiya stuff. So this is how I'm doing my masking. This is masking to paint the wheelbase now. So there we go. So that's all ready now, so I can paint those wheelbase. And what we do, we use, it's got to be XF83 in there. And what I think I'll do is thin it with either leveling thinners or water, and then if any bleeds over onto the edge, we can just easily remove it with a cotton bud. So there we go. And we've got to be careful not to snap this little antenna off on here. We will be adding the antennas to this, the actual aerials themselves. So we're ready to go now. So we're ready to spray them, and I'm going to paint them in Tamiya XF83, I think it is, because it's 165, and they're telling us, yeah, 165. So we've got to do the undercarriage legs as well. I've got everything here. So I've got all my undercarriage legs and my tail wheel leg there. I think we'll probably do the wheels as well. So there we go. So it looks like we're good to go. We'll get that tail wheel done as well. So we really are getting there now with this. We're really pushing on. So let's put that away. That's the flimsy as anything little winch. So that's in its little own pot with a piece of tape to stop it coming out. So that's all good to go. So I'm going to get myself ready to do some airbrushing, and then we'll get some paint. So Tamiya XF83, as I showed you already, and that's mixed roughly 50-50 with some Tamiya X28 thinner. Now normally I would use Mr. Colour Evelyn thinner, but I want to be able to remove the paint from the edge of there with a drop of water if I need to. So that's why I'm using it, the acrylic thinner in this occasion. So we've got the base all masked up, as you've seen. I'm using this is the back of the sheet, I don't need this, so I'm using this to protect the mat from overspray. As you can see, the undercarriage legs are primed. They're primed in Mr. Surfacer, so they're not going to need much paint because they're nearly the right colour already, as you can see, practically the same colour. And the wheels, they're just stuck on sticks. This is like a stirring stick or a barbecue stick. And then these things here are really handy. If you go to KFC and you get their corn on the cob, which is very nice indeed, these are the skewers they come on. They're really handy for modelling. So there we go. And then you've got these metal ones here, which you get, as I say, from Premium Hobbies. I've had to drill a hole in the middle of the tail wheel just to accept something so I can hold it. And these things here, these are great. Again, from Premium Hobbies, these are little crocodile clips that you can clip onto your model and hold the parts. And this is just a simple base I've made from corrugated cardboard, which is rolled up and then wrapped with tape. And I did a video on how to do that, and a lot of people said, oh yeah, but you can go and buy a piece of this, and you can buy a piece of... The whole objective of doing this was it's free. So there we go, and we're recycling as well. You can buy a sort of professional jobby like this one here. This is Infini. This is the Infini paint clip stand. You can see these are the clips I'm talking about, and it's lovely. It's very, very nice, but the trouble is the bigger ones won't fit in there, so I tend to keep this for special occasions, as it were. So there we go. It's like keeping your Sunday best, isn't it? So I've got the airbrush set to about 18 psi, 15, 18 psi, something like that. A lot of people ask about air pressures. It doesn't really matter. It's what you'd like. Some people spray it like 10 psi. Some people spray it 30. The trouble is with spraying at 30, you build clouds up in the room of paint and everything. I find 15 is about, you know, somewhere between 12 and 18 is about right, and you don't get too much overspray. If I just do some spraying here, you can see it's just it's not blasting out the gun, it's not blowing it everywhere, and it's not putting clouds everywhere. So I'm just going to come in here, first of all, blow it out, and then just gently put some paint in and build it up slowly. I'm not trying to flood it on. You don't want to be, if you see a wet pool, you've put too much on, as a rule of thumb. So just going in there and gently just building it up. Just slowly building it up. And as you can see now, the rivet detail is starting to appear because it's grey. That's the only unfortunate thing with matte grey. It will show up every single detail, but it will also show up every single imperfection. So any glue marks, any ejector pin marks you've left behind, any scratches, the slightest flaw will show up terribly with light grey paint. And there we are, that's that done. So we'll leave that to dry. We'll have a look, because sometimes being red, the red will bleed through. So I'll do the next one off camera. The undercarriage legs, just basically give them a light going over with the grey. We're going to be painting bits of these chrome and washing it with black and everything. So as you can see, I'm not trying to paint everything at once. I'm just building it up slowly. Same with the tail wheel here. We'll just do the hub in the middle, and then we'll come along with some tyre black, and we'll do the we'll hand paint the tyre. I'll show you how to do that. Make sure you get the paint into the rim on the edge. You don't want a black edge on it. And same on the main landing gear wheels. Get them in from an angle. And another little tip, when you use an airbrush, you tend to do this. You tend to do it, pull back, and then you let go. what happens is you get paint build up on the tip. The correct way to airbrush is down, back, forward, up, and then you won't get the build up. If you do fall into the bad habit, the best tip I can give you is don't ever start. Don't do this and start spraying. Start spraying, air on, and then bring the paint back, move on to the part. Okay, air on and then move on to the part. Don't ever start straight away on the part. Just building it up slowly. I'm getting a bit of tip dry here. You can see how it flooded out then? That's what happens when you get tip dry. That's when the paint in the tip dries and then poof, it just blows out of the way and it pours out. So you can see that's flooded out there. You can see that on there. It's very, very wet. Just leave it alone, it'll be fine. What I'm going to do here is just with a piece of paper towel, just clear the nozzle. Just put it right back, and that will save any issues going forward. Paint the tail wheel. Okay, that's that done. And then paint another one of these wheels just for you to see. Locked up again. Just making sure we get all the angles correct. There we go. So there we are. So I'm going to get the rest of this done, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's all dried. Right, about an hour's gone by and the paint's all nice and dry, so we can get this all unmasked. I don't really want to leave the masking on here. Some of you might be thinking, well, you're going to be masking it all again, but I don't know when I'm going to be painting this again. You can see some of the paint has come away there. I have to be saying Tamiya tape doesn't take paint off. It will take paint off if your preparation isn't good. Now obviously I've left a bit of grease or something on that corner, so that's fine because it looks like it's been chipped, which is cool because this model is going to be weathered. I want it to be all dirty and sooty and everything like the ones I've seen. I don't want it to be all nice and shiny. I'm in two minds whether to mask and paint this grey now or to get it on the model and do it then. I think it'd be a lot easier to hold it and mask it like this rather than the whole thing, so I'm tempted to kind of get that done now, which I will show you if I do it. Cotton bud, just wetting it on my tongue, which is quite disgusting, and I should be able to remove this excess grey paint from the corner here without affecting the red. Okay, it's not coming off as quickly as I thought it would, but it is coming off. We've got some there as well, so we'll just remove that. We've also got some there. Terrible masking, Nigel, terrible. This is the trouble when you do stuff on camera. It's never as good as the stuff you do off camera, because you're, instead of concentrating on the job, you're concentrating on what you're saying, where the camera's looking at and everything. So we'll unmask this one as well. We didn't take any paint off in that little area there in this one, which is cool. And we've had some paint creep under there. I think what I did, I mixed that paint 50-50, and I reckon, you know, that paint was already mixed in the pot, and I haven't written air on it because it's extremely thin. That's actually like a little gouge in it there. It's like it's taken a layer of paint off. Very strange. We just have to touch that up. As I say, it's going to be all chipped and scratched up anyway, this one. It's kind of looking like I didn't prep this properly before I sprayed the red, to be honest. It's very strange there. It's like a scratch. Weird. Okay, so that's that done. Obviously that lens in there is masked as well. So this masking here, I was going to suggest leaving it on, but I'm going to get it off because we don't want it to sort of weld itself to the paint. So there we go, so that's that bit off there. And then that's that bit off there. Find the end of this one. You can see there the liquid mask is coming away. Just get a cocktail stick and pick away at it there a bit. It looks like the liquid mask hasn't, well, it's not, the liquid mask has done a great job. I haven't put it on very well. But you can see it's kind of masked there. We'll see how this one looks. Get this tape off of here, come on. And that one's not very nice either. So I think I'm going to have to go around there with a brush and just touch that in, which is going to be awkward because I don't think brushing LP can be done very successfully. I may just have to mix up a mix that's quite close to it, and then we'll put some wash over it to cover it up. But I think I'm going to mask these and paint them grey. You can see they're painted in grey here, 164, which is XF54 or XF77. So I'm going to mask those off and paint them grey while they're here rather than on the model, because it's going to be a lot easier, I think, to paint them like this. So not quite clear. There's no clear demarcation on the bottom where this goes. It's sort of there's going to be a line there somewhere. We'll look into that and come back to it. I'm going to get it masked up, and then I'll come back. I'll mask one, see how we get on, and then I'll mask the other one on camera so you can see how to mask awkward shapes. There we go, all done. And I've used on there LP13, which is Sasebo Arsenal Imperial Japanese Navy Grey. Remember, this rim around the outside is like a clamping ring. This is like a bag, so don't sort of mask around the outside of that ring there. So that's that all done. I don't think I've got it quite perfect around the front there, but I think it'll do. It's fine. So how did I get there? This is what it looks like after painting, and as you can see, we've got the general overall masking here. Okay, and then what I've done, just get this general masking tape off. You can see we've got this white tape here, so I don't want to come off. Stay on the model, please, thank you. You can see we've got this white tape, which is Tamiya's flexible tape, and it's good for going around corners, which is how I've done that. So you can see there's this white tape going all the way around here, and then we've got a couple of bits on the end to sort of form little radiuses. There we go. You can see there when we take that off, it gives us that nice radius shape. So that's our bags done there. So that's all that done. So you can see how they're going to look when they're on the body, on the fuselage. It's all starting to look quite nice, isn't it? So there we are. I don't know if I need to go in and touch them up or what I need to do there. I'm going to try and do something. I want to try and improve the look of that seam. There, it looks a bit tatty. So I think what I'm going to do is get my wet palette, mix some of this game colour red. See if I can sort of just about get a mix that I could just go in there, or even wipe the excess away just to sort of let it blend in together. We shall see, because I don't think you can paint LP over LP. I think it'll lift it, and I don't want to chance it because I can end up with more of a mess than I've got now. What I could do is actually mask it again. I mean, there it's I've got red paint going up onto the grey. Look, that'll be easy to touch in. We shall see. Right, I'll have a little look at that and then I'll come back. That's that done. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better match. That's the game colour red, and this is Tamiya LP21 Italian red I've painted this with, so that's worth remembering. Blimey. Now, match on that. I touched it where the paint was scratched as well. So, and that one, look, you can see I've gone around that one. It's come out lovely. So I think now we can look at actually getting these fitted to the model. So they're going to go in like so, and that's going to go in out there. Now I'm going to have to think of some way. What I'm tempted to do is put a drop of super glue on here, just to tack that in. In fact, it pretty much stays there on its own. If you push them in solid, they actually go in there really tight. Right, so what we need to do now is remove paint from the end of here. Make sure there's no paint on there as well. And I want to do this without any oozage, so I don't quite know how I'm going to go about this. I'm kind of thinking a little drop of super glue on each one. What I'm afraid about, if I lose, come on, this glue's drying out. If I use liquid cement, I'm worried that I might get some oozage. I'm going to put a drop of this in there, just to kind of tack it in place. And then we can just put a drop of liquid cement in afterwards to weld it. We push them in, like so. It's decided it's not going to play ball. It's decided it's not going to play ball at all, so I'm going to have to use liquid cement, which I really didn't want to do. I use the ordinary extra thin, so we'll put a drop in there, a drop around there. The last thing we want here is anything oozing out. So I'm going to get plenty of glue on the brush and let that go in and capillary around and do its thing. Because having stuff oozing out is great if you're looking for weld seams and stuff, but if you're looking for a clean joint, you do not want anything oozing out. So we can hold that one in place and we can do the other side. Get some cement in there. Get some in there. I haven't cleaned the ends off of these, have I? That'll have to do. No, it won't have to do at all because this has got to be strong. This is taking the weight of the model. It's not a particularly light model actually. That glue will have dried out in there now. I tend not to do this. I tend not to apply extra thin before assembly. I've noticed a lot of the American modelers do. Especially the car modelers. They tend to put the extra thin down first. I always find if you put it down first, before you know it, it's dried out. Get some in there and let it capillary around. Yeah, that needs a good hard squeezing, that one does. So I'm just going to hold them like that for about 10 minutes and watch some on telly, I suppose. See you in a minute. For those of you that wanted to see detail painting, here we go. So we've done the chrome on the undercarriage legs, you can see that there. And done a little bit on the back there. I think I can't see how that can go inside the other one, I just thought I'd do a bit there. But you can see it's a nice bright chrome colour, and that is liquid chrome mirror effect from Molotov. So rather than getting the pen, you can just get a bottle of the paint, so that's really cool. That came from Hero Boy, but as soon as he gets it in stock, it's gone. So that's them done. I've done the tail wheel as well. I think there's a bit of chrome on there, I'm not sure. We can always paint it over if it's not. So that's that. So the tyres, I'm going to do them with H77 tyre black. And I've got my wet palette here. And basically this is, as you can see, I've thinned it down within an inch of its life. And what I do is I pour the paint up a wrinkle, and then the paint at the top will be drier than the paint at the bottom. So if you want varying sort of consistencies of paint, you can. And what I'm doing, the reason I've got it so thin, I'm going to bring you in here. What am I doing? I'm going to bring you in so you can see what I'm doing. I think you'll be able to see what I'm doing. And so what we're going to do is we've got the paint really, really thin. So what we can do, this isn't going to work, is it? Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah. So what I'm going to do is with the brush, I've got it heavily loaded. I just run the brush over to the edge of the wheel rim, and you can see I don't need to actually try and paint it. I'm just tapping the brush on the edge of the wheel rim. You can see it's pulling the paint up and it's dropping it down just like so, and we're getting the paint to pool into the edge between the wheel rim and the tyre. This is how to get perfect wheels without masking. Okay, now if you use a gloss underneath, you'll probably find that one tap and the paint will go all the way around. But because it's matte, it's got a higher sort of friction, higher resistance to it flowing around. And there we go. And then we can just run the brush around the rest of the tyre. Don't matter that it's blotchy, it doesn't matter at all, because the paint is so thin it won't leave lumps and bumps all over the surface, and tyres aren't perfect anyway. So go around there, get that bit painted there. Okay, so that's when we can give that another coat. But as you can see, the paint has gone in. So I'm not sure if what the camera's been focusing on there. I'll have to try and edit it out, maybe refilm it. But it certainly doesn't want to focus up there, does it? Bloody thing. So let me do another one, just in case. And what I'll do is I'll only show one of them. I won't bore you with two unless, because then if one's gone out, what I'll do is I'll put that down on there and that'll keep it at a constant distance. So I just run the brush around. I'm just touching the rim, and as you can see the paint is puddling into the corner between the wheel rim and the tyre. And there we go. Now hopefully that stayed in focus. I don't think the last one did, which is why if it cuts short, that's why. Then we go round. It doesn't matter that it's all uneven. We'll let it dry, give it a second coat. But if the paint's not thin enough, it won't do it. So if it won't work for you, then thin your paint some more. It needs to be literally like dirty water rather than thin paint. Okay, so I'll do the same on the others, and then I'll come back and show you after they've had a couple of coats. Right, so there's our tyres painted. You can see there, that's in the H77, that's in the Mr. Hobby Tyre Black, thinned with water, about 3 coats. You can see they look lovely, and on the back too, they're all done. Now, these tyres are just a bit just monotone, so what I've done, I've got some XF63 here, German grey, and I've just mixed it with the watery mix from this one here, which is the H77. So what we've got here is a piece of sponge. I'm just going to pick up the paint and just dot it around the tyre like so. Okay, and just get an uneven sort of grey onto the tread. Okay, it needs to be quite wet, and you'll see the effect in a minute when it dries. This works really well. If you want to see this done and it come out really nice, was my Lancaster, my 32nd scale Lancaster, the tyres on that came out really good using this method. And then you'll see when it's dry, We have a very, very slight difference in the colour. I doubt if you can even see that because it's not dry. Let me get the airbrush to dry it off. I doubt if you can even make it out on the camera, but there's a sort of blotchiness and a greyness. Now what we can do now is get a drop of, let's get a drop of this grey here. This is one of the problems with Mr. Hobby paints. They tend to, look at that, blimey. They tend to just put some of that in there. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Hobby paints, the lids tend to stick like mad. So then we can get some of this watery black colour from here. In fact, we can use that. What I'm going to do this time is dip the sponge in the paint, but this time I'm going to remove most of it and then just dot that on. That'll just, it just gives the tyre, if I can show you that, just dry it off. It just makes the tyre look a little bit more interesting rather than just having a black circle. Okay, so just show you once more on the table wheel. Just going to dip that in there, get most of it off. Took too much of it off then. Just dab that on there just to get some different colours going. Sorry about that guys, bloody battery went halfway through talking to you. So as you can see on the tyres, we got them done. I mean they're sort of varying in shade and stuff. So happy with that. So we'll just leave them. What I'm going to do now is get some Mr. Surfacer in this joint here and let it work in. It's quite late at the moment. It's Saturday night. It's Saturday the 16th of September 23. And I just want to get some Mr. Surfacer. I'm going to use some 500 and let it get in there, and then we'll remove it with some leveling thinners, because I want this to be a sort of a joint. I want it to be seen as a seam, but I don't want a gap around it. So I'm just going to get in there now and being mindful of where the cotton bud will go. So I'm not going to go into that underneath in that acute corner. That's going to be fine as it is. But just get that in there, and it'll probably kind of capillary in and end up needing more. But what we can do tomorrow when it's set, tomorrow for me it'll be a couple of minutes for you, we can get in there with the cotton bud and deal with the seam. And that was the whole reason for doing all this painting and not painting the top of them. So what we'll do now is we'll mask off these, and then we can spray the rest of it with all this masked off. And I did those because it'd be easier to do it rather than holding the whole helicopter and masking it. It was easier to just do it as an individual sponson. So I'm going to put plenty on it because I know it's going to go in. I just know it's going to go in. So there we go. Right. So we'll leave that at that, and that can dry. In the meantime, I want to look at getting this undercarriage fitted, because then if we've got the undercarriage fitted without the wheels, I'm not going to put the wheels on yet, but we can get the undercarriage fitted, then we can start looking at getting some of those greeblies fitted on the underside, because at the moment I can't fit them, because obviously if I put it down I'll just break them off. But if we get the undercarriage legs in, then we'll be good to go. So that's just going to slot in there like that. I mean, they almost don't need glue in them. They're such a lovely fit. They really are. Let's try that one in there. I mean, they're a lovely tight fit. and then that can stand on there. Then the tail wheel, that one's going to go up in there like so. And now it will stand on its undercarriage, and we can fit those antennae and things on the bottom. Now the tail wheel, I'm guessing it doesn't need to face straight forward, but I'm going to have it facing straight forward just in case. So what I'm going to do here is come along with some quick setting and just get that in there. The reason I'm using the quick setting, it will penetrate the paint a lot easier. So that's that in place. As I say, I've had a comment about this, I can't remember if I said or not. In the instructions they're telling us to paint this underside a lighter grey than the rest of it, and I've had someone tell me that's not correct, and they're an ex-service crew I think, so they should know their stuff. So not really sure what to do there. I think I will glue these legs in. So I think what I'll do is put a drop of quick setting in that hole, and a drop in there. Please have some on the brush, thank you. That should be enough just to get it sort of nipped in place. It doesn't need to be massively glued in. As you can see, this one was even tighter, so this one doesn't need gluing at all really. It'd be nice to have some glue on the brush, please. There we go, we'll just plop that one in there. You can see a drip there. Look, it didn't hit the model luckily. There we are. So that's gone into there. I'm just going to put a drop in there, a drop in the side there, and a drop in there, and a drop in there. And then when it's all said and done, we'll give them a wash. So there we go, that's our undercarriage fixed in. So now, once that's dry, we can look at getting all these antennae and thing on the bottom. I'm thinking I may need to put the wheels on because they may be still touching the base. But I'm not sure how good a fit the wheels are. Yeah, they're very sloppy, so I don't really want to fit them until after we've done all the decals and painting and weathering and everything, because I want the wheels to be sort of different, if you like. They're going to be dusty and dirty and oily and stuff. So we can leave that to dry, and then tomorrow we can go around with the cotton bud, and then we'll give that a primer. At the same time we'll prime all this in, see how this looks where I've taken all the primer off. Look. And there we go. So we are really starting to get this together now. So I will see you tomorrow for me. Oh, just one thing I did want to ask. Because hopefully this video will go out before we finish it. I'm not going to finish it in this video. This is what they're suggesting in the instructions for version C. And this is not an air filter. It's just a sort of deflector to deflect the air from being sucked straight in. It pulls it in from the side. Now, every single picture I've seen of a grey and red HU5 has the other type. It's where is it? It's in here somewhere. It's the type with the filters on. So I don't really get why they're asking me to put that one on. Is that correct for one of these, or should it be the later one? You know, the one like we've got here. It has to be on the fold, doesn't it? You can see that they're asking me to fit this one to this model, which is the one I just showed you, but every single picture I've seen of that helicopter has that type of air filter on it. So can you please let me know in the comments below, is that correct for a 1995 period HU5, or should I be using the later one? Let me know, please. So there we are. Lovely. Right, see you in a minute. And we're back next day now, and as you can see, I've gone round with some Mr. Surfacer, taken away, sorry, with extra, oh dear, come on Nige, levelling thinner, and taken away the Mr. Surfacer that I painted into those joints. So they're all nicely sorted now. You can see we've got a nice seamless joint there. And I've also gone over with some primer and checked this one here back here, which is absolutely fine. So now we've got the undercarriage on, I'm going to look at getting some of these antennae on. I've got them here. And there's a few little bits and pieces we can put on now, but there's a few little bits and pieces I don't want to put on yet. If we look at here, G24 and these two little G17 and G16, tiny little flimsy, you can see them on the next page here. Tiny little flimsy bits sticking out, they're just going to get snapped off. So I'm going to put those on right before we do the red paint. So that'll be cool. These here I'm going to fit now. I'm not going to put this D22 on because that is just asking to get broken off. That's it's quite a big piece. Here it is there, and that's just going to stick down from here. So it also looks like it's the wrong shape. Looking at the instructions, D22 is like this, and it has like a leg on it. As you can see, we have like a D-shaped hole. But if you actually look at part D22, you can see that it doesn't have a D-shaped part on it at all. It's just designed to fit. I don't know. It's very strange. Kind of wondering if it's the wrong part number. Maybe it's G22. No, there's G22. That goes on the nose. Yeah, that goes on the nose up here. So yeah, bit of a meh on that one. Going to need a lot of filling in that hole. I've also found a short shot. There we go. There's a short shot there. They should all be that same length, and that one's a short shot. So there we go. Something else to look out for on your kit. Right. So we'll start getting these bits on now. The first part I'm going to put in is this light X2, which we've already painted in chrome silver. So you can see that when we look at it, we've got a nice reflective lens on there rather than just the clear. And obviously if I put that in with extra thin, it's going to ruin the nice shiny paint. So I'm going to use this one. This is the Ammo Ultra Glue. I need a cocktail stick, as usual, Mr. Unprepared. Here we go. I'm just going to put a tiny drop of this in here. That'll be enough to hold that in place, and then we can drop this in just like so. Give it a little nudge, and there we go, that's in there, and that can be left to dry, and then we can put one of our little masking circles over it. It looks like a kind of little landing light that swivels down. We've also got some glue oozing out, so I'm just going to run around there. There we go. So that'll hold that in place. And then we've also got these, it stands up nicely upside down, doesn't it? We'll put the lid back on our Ultra Glue because this stuff is known to dry out. So put that away, keep it in the dark. I keep all my glues in the dark. So we've got G10, so we've got these here, and they kind of look kind of symmetrical, I'm guessing. So I don't think they've got any particular direction they go in. They don't have like a leading and a trailing edge. So I'm just going to plonk one into there, and then plonk this one in there and have a look and see if it looks right. If it looks right, it probably is. It looks fine, doesn't it? So we'll get our Tamiya glues over. We'll get a drop of extra thin into that one, and a drop of extra thin into that one, and then we're going to have to do the Mr. Surfacer thing again. And we're just going to check they are vertical. They're all nicely in line. So that's cool. So we can cross these out as we go. So we've got X2 is gone, G10s have gone. G25 is this little one here, and this is going to go in with the angled bit at the back by the look of it. So that's just going to sit into that slot in there. Remember guys, this is version C I'm doing, so yours may be different. But it certainly does look like the angled, it looks like it's supposed to be angled forward. Again, we will get Mr. Surfacer in there. And then G23 is the big one here. Just going to clean that seam line off of there. Now this one goes in an obvious direction. I have had to open this hole up to 1.1 millimeters. And what I am going to do here is just come along with a round blade and very lightly remove a little bit of paint just to give the glue a helping hand, or the cement should I say. So you can position that in there, make sure it's nice and straight before we put any glue on, before we start making any marks. Then we can run our extra thin underneath. There we go. That's that on like that. And that is literally almost touching the ground without the wheels on, so that's very close. So we can cross that off. And then moving on to, oh, there's another one here underneath, D24, this one here. This one's going to go into that recess in there, so again we'll just scratch some paint off. It looks like it goes with the step at the back. You've got a, look on here, you've got a, oops, you've got a step on the back and the front half is sort of flat, so that step's going to go rearwards by the look of it. These are, they're not supposed to fit dead flush. The big block on the bottom is like your mounting block, much like these here. So that's gone in there like that. Very nice. And then, what's that one? That's D24 done. And then finally we've got this one in the top here. D21 is going in the top. And it kind of looks again like this is symmetrical. Oh no, it does have a leading and a trailing edge, so have a look at that. One edge is sharper than the other, so that is obviously going to drop in there, leading edge forward, and there we go. That's that done. There we are. There we go. Right. So I think now we've got lots of more bits to go on. Don't forget, I've got clear parts here to go on, which I'm going to do after painting. Another one here, X19. And as I say, these bits down here are going to go on when the red goes on. Got that little piece there, that's just asking to get broken off. I'm not putting that on yet. That's a little tiny sort of antenna sticking out the side here. That's just going to get broken off for sure. I think that area is red actually, isn't it? Oh no, it's grey. It's grey down below, you can see it there. Okay, so right. So we're going to leave those to dry. Let's see, we've got lots and lots of little pieces to go on. I'm so worried about knocking them off because we've got to mask this everything and paint it. I guess what we need to do is look at when the grey is on. I guess that step there could be painted, could be fitted. F9 now that it's primed. Come here. I'm guessing we can fit that in there. We didn't fit it before because it overhangs the bottom. As you get older, you learn more about overhanging bottoms, don't we, guys? So I'm going to put a little drop of extra thin in the holes, just to tack it. It's like a little fold out step. And then we can run some in from either end just to get it permanently fixed in place. There we go. So that's that one there as well done. We've got a little light there to go on. That's going to be asking to get broken off. That can go on the same time. We'll have to go in and brush paint some of this stuff. But I need to be looking at my plan and planning ahead, because it's like these here. Okay, those there, they can go on before red. So they'll go on before we paint the red. I'm not going to add that filter until I know which one it's supposed to be, because I'm not convinced that's correct. Those bits there are going to go on after we've painted the window frames. These can go on before the red. So they can go like that. And then this area back here, so that's going to be painted white anyway, by the look of it. Yeah. Let me get some planning done, and then I'll come back and we'll go from there. Right, I'm looking at these rotors now, and I've basically gone round with all these antennae and done the Mr. Surface around them. That piece of masking tape there is a good little tip, where you've got lights and stuff, so you don't forget to put a circular mask on there. Just put a piece of masking tape next to it, and then when you come to paint it, you'll sort of think to yourself, why is that there? Oh yeah, I've got to put a mask on that light. Like I've masked those two lights there, look. I've got to mask that one the same. So there we go. Right, I need to move this camera as well, because I think I'm working over here too much, aren't I? Too much at the bottom of the screen. I think I've got the camera at the wrong angle. Let me get that sorted a minute. That's better. Right, so now when I'm working here, I'm sort of in the middle of the screen. So looking at this tail rotor, we have red and white tips. We fold this in half. We have red and white tips, and Airfix have kindly given us decals here to do that with. So what I've done, I've come on and measured them, and they're roughly 4mm from tip to the bottom of the red here in length. And the white band is about 1.5. So it's 1.2 either side and a 1.5 band in the middle. So that's what I'm going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is paint it white. So I'll paint the ends of the blades white, and I'll go much wider than 4mm. And for that I'm going to use this one here. I'm going to use MRP Fine Surface Primer White. It's absolutely brilliant. It's not grainy, it's really smooth. The only trouble is it's very thin, it needs a lot of coats, and it stinks. So we'll have to do that in the booth. So we'll get that done in a minute. As I say, I don't like using decals in areas like that, because you've got all the edges, and it's got to, it's got to go around, and then you've got one got to fold over the other. It's not the best, so I'm not going to use them. I'm going to paint it as much better. The other thing we have to look at is this main rotor head, and these blades, they have no sag in them. You can see they're pretty much dead straight, and I want them to be sagged realistically. So what I'm going to have to do is take these down to the sink, and I'm going to run some very hot water over the blade, and then hold the inner end of the blade and just flex them like this, and try and get them all to sag about the same amount. I'm looking at real pictures of Sea Kings, and if I put this on here, you'll see how ridiculous it looks. If I put that like that and I hold it up, you can see how ridiculous that looks. They're just all dead straight out. It's stupid. The camera's focusing on the blade closest to you, but you can see it's just not right. They need to have some sag on them. So I'm going to have to do that. Now I'm not taking the camera down in the kitchen, but all I'm going to do is run hot water over them. Okay, just run hot water. I'll sort of time it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 1, 2, 3, stroke it, and then move on to the next one, and then try and sort of just twist them and balance them all out so they're roughly the same. And then we can go on and get some painting. For this, I'm tempted to use this paint here, which is the brand new Outlaw paints, which isn't in the country yet. It's coming imminently. But I'm tempted to use this Outlaw paints because I saw Moss do a test with this on camera, and I've never seen a yellow paint cover like this stuff does. It's the right colour. It's that sort of darker yellow rather than just a bright yellow. So I'm tempted to use that because I've got this set to do a test which will be coming imminently, and just got like sort of 4 or 5 millimeters of each colour, and I'll need a tiny bit for the propeller blade tips for the project I've done, which is now built. So we're ready to do the painting video, but I do want to use it because it does cover so very, very well. And obviously we've got one whole blade there yellow, so I've got some primer down on there because I don't want to test, I don't want to chance. Just notice I've got some dust in there. I don't want to chance putting the outdoor paint straight on bare plastic. I have done a quick test and it did work very well, but I don't want to chance it on an area like this that's going to be exposed. We've also got to do all the tips as well, and I'm seeing I've got mould seams around here which need to be dealt with, so I'll deal with them as well. But yeah, all in all, it's coming along nicely. So I think we can sort of get the rotor blades done while that's drying, and then we'll call this video done. I'll see you back in a sec. While I was doing this, I was thinking, one piece of advice I would give, obviously what Airfix are intending here is for you to paint this whole thing black and then put the decals on. I wouldn't do that if I were you. I would paint the ends white and then mask off sort of 4 millimeters off the end before you paint the black, because if you put those decals over black, I think your white will probably be quite grey. I don't think it will come out bright white, which it needs to be. It needs to be like a brilliant white. Really does need to stand out, and that's why I've done it this way. So what we'll do now is we'll mask that off. What I'll do is I'll put a piece of 1.2mm tape on each end, then put a piece of 1.5 next to it, take the 1.2 off, spray the red, and then we'll put a piece of 4mm on and spray the black. It's a lot of fuss, but it's a much neater job than using decals, and in my opinion it's easier as well. So there we go. Now I've got to get down to the kitchen and get some sag into this rotor red here. Well, what can I say? How much better does that look? It's absolutely brilliant. I think Airfix missed a trick there. They could have easily put some warp in these blades. Most manufacturers do. You need to be a little bit careful, because I'm not sure if that was where a sprue connector was, but you can see there, that line in the plastic. I can't feel it. It's not a weak spot, but I can definitely see it. And you can see there's a white line going across the plastic. You need to be very careful. Got one there as well. Oh, there's one there as well. Look. Obviously this one's painted, so there's obviously a front there where the plastic's meeting in the tool. Be very careful, because that's going to be the weakest point. That's where it's just going to snap. So all I did, okay, as I said, I don't want to go taking the bloody camera in the kitchen and everything. Imagine this is the side of the sink, okay, so imagine this is vertical, I know it's horizontal, and all I did was push the blade, held the blade here so it's not putting any strain on this joint. So I held the blade here like this, and then I pushed the blade into the side of the sink and ran boiling water over it. And it's been absolutely fine. Now, I take no liability whatsoever for what happens to yours, because I can't guarantee the plastics are all the same. We've already seen the quality control issues, so there's nothing to say the plastics vary slightly. But yeah, I mean, try it with hot water first, see if it works, and then if not, try boiling water. And then just make sure you don't burn yourself. A lot of people say then you should quench it in cold to sort of set it, but I'd rather leave it warm so I can play with it. And what I did then was just put it down on a bench and just kept looking at it to make sure they're right. And what I've noticed, if you look at the real thing, they don't sort of sag from here, they sort of go straight and then gently sag out. Like that. You can see they're not like some helicopter blades that sag right down. They're kind of, you can see there, I've tried to get them pretty even, but I mean just that little bit there, and I can see straight away it's a massive improvement over what you get in the box. And I mean, if you really want to be fussy and check yourself, grab a rule. Here's one here, hold it in one position. There we go, 80 millimeters, 78 millimeters, 82, 80. Maybe that one's low, that's about 70, that one. 80. So Where's that really low one? I think we'll just give that one a tweak. That one's a little bit too low, that one. Let's give that a tweak up. I mean, we've got rock in this anyway, and I doubt all the blades sag exactly the same. I'm just going to give that one a tweak up. There we go, that's about 77 now. So I'm happy with that. They're all within about 10mm of each other. I'm just going to take that one down a touch. It's so dodgy. The plastic seems very, very tough. It's not at all brittle, and it's not all soft and gooey. Yeah, see, that one's gone up now. I think we've got a little bit of a rock in the rotor head, to be honest. But I think this is going to be fine. I'm just going to leave it like that. That's fine. How's it look with this rotor spinning? There we go. Right, let's get on and get this yellow painting. Right, so this is the Outlaw Paints Trainer Yellow. You really need to be spraying this at least with a mask or a booth or something like that. I'm just going to do a little bit of this on camera just for you to see how it covers, because I'm sure it's absolutely amazing. These paints, they're made in Australia. They're designed to be poured straight from the bottle into the airbrush. So they're pre-thinned, ready to go, and they've got a very high pigment count. So they cover really, really well. Now, as you all know, I'm a big fan of MRP paints. But there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that these cover better, so you're going to use less paint. I'm going to leave that over there for now. I'm going to put the top on but not shake the bottle, because they come with this little plastic insert. These are not the bottles you will get your paint in when you buy it. These are sample bottles sent to me by James over at Sprue Box. So these bottles are not what you will get. You will get a full size. They're kind of the 30mm, the same size as like an MRP bottle or whatever. Very similar, I believe, to the SMS bottles. Here, these 30mm. Yeah, that's 30mm. So they're very similar in size to that when you get them. So ignore that bottle. That is just a sample. So I'm just going to check the flow, and I don't want to waste too much paint. It does smell. So I'm just going to see how it covers on these tips. Now I'm using this here because it's surplus to requirements. So I'm going to turn my air pressure down a bit because it's a little bit on the high side. That's better, that's about 15. I'm purposely doing this without a primer just to see how it looks, and you can see that it's covering amazingly well. Now the tip is yellow. I'm not sure how wide the band is. And I mean, for a yellow paint, this is just absolutely incredible. So this whole blade has got to be yellow. So what we'll do is we'll rest the tip on there. We'll just go up and down it. It actually smells very much like the old Testors enamels. It's not an enamel, it's an acrylic lacquer. But you can see the coverage is just amazing for a yellow paint. Yellow is inherently the worst colour. If you want to test the paint's coverage, test yellow. It is awful. And that's not, you know, that's not knocking any manufacturers or anything. It's just the nature of the pigments. But that is going down. It's drying practically instantly. I can see it drying. Wow. Impressive stuff. Really impressive. You know, straight from the bottle over a grey primer. run out now. I'm hoping I've got enough in here to do this job. I'm going to carry on camera because it actually doesn't smell too bad. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but it actually doesn't smell too bad. I think what I'll do is just put the fan on a second. That'll blow the fumes across me and out the window. There we go. So we'll just go and get these tips done. Make sure we get the leading edges. There we go. Now, using this now, I would recommend a white primer underneath it, just as with any yellow, because it's going to cover a lot better. You're going to use much less paint to get a thinner coat. But having said that, if this was like MRP yellow, I'd be on probably 6 or 7 coats to get this kind of coverage. So yeah, it's very, very nice indeed. We can see here it's building up. And that is over a grey primer, and even with the grey primer you can see that line in there still, which is very weird. It's almost like actually this paint is attacking the plastic. It's attacking the plastic through the Mr. Surfacer, because otherwise we would not see that coming through. This is what happens when you use aerosol paint. It's very interesting. We've run out again. So I think now I'm going to have to go over this with something that won't attack the plastic, because you'll never stop this. This is what, if you go back to my B52 beginners build, I primed it with an aerosol black paint, and all these mould lines, all the seams where the plastic meets and you get like a weld, it shows them up. Very interesting. So I'm going to clean the airbrush out, and I'm going to have to go over that with like an XF3 or something, because that will never go. You can see this is the mould line in the plastic here. This white line you can see there. See it there? Okay, you've got it on every single blade, like I just discussed. And what's happening? This is eating into the Mr. Surfacer primer, which is a good thing because it helps it key, but it's showing up that. So that's something we're going to have to be aware of with these paints. And I will do a test on camera to see if that is actually an issue or not going forward. There we go. Right. I'm going to have to use something else. I'm back in a minute. Right then guys, sorted. Panic over. It's not an issue with Outlaw paints at all. It's an issue with the plastic. If you noticed, I was putting the Outlaw paints on, wet on wet. And I would suggest that when you're spraying these parts with whatever paint you're using, unless it's a water-based or Tamiya XF3 with acrylic thinner, I would suggest going very, very light dusty coats. Now what I've done is a couple of tests. What I've actually done, this blade here, the one that has to be all yellow, I went over it with XF3 thinned with Mr. Colour Leveling thinners, and it still showed. You could still see the parting line there, the join line, weld, whatever it's called. I'm sure Nathan will comment and tell me I'm telling you the wrong terminology. So what I've done then is gone over with XF3 light coats mixed with Tamiya X20A acrylic thinner, and it's hidden it, so it's got rid of it. You can just still see it there, just still see a witness, but if I didn't tell you it's there, you wouldn't see it. So what I did then was I got some LP8, which is lacquer paint 8, thin with leveling thinners, and sprayed it over, and fairly lightly, and you can see it's done exactly the same thing. You can see there the mould imperfection, or the weld, or whatever it's called. You can see that coming through on all of them. Okay, so there we are. And then what I did, I tried some black Mr. Surfacer thin with leveling thinners. I managed to put my finger in it there, but you can see on here, if I catch it in the light, you can see it there, it's done the same. So what this is, what you're seeing, it's not the colour of the plastic, it's, as I say, if you go back to my B52 beginners build video, which I still haven't weathered, if you go back to that video, you'll see when I sprayed the wings with the aerosol, all these mould lines appeared where the plastic has gone into the tool and all joined, and you get like a weld between the two fronts of plastic. And that's what happens with certain paints, but I'm beginning to think it's not certain paints, it's certain plastics, because I certainly haven't seen it ever before with anything I've used. So that's the first time I've seen it. So rather than go straight out and blame the Outlaw Paints, what I've done is come along and done this test, and you can see, I mean, you can see it there. It's done exactly the same. That one is actually more prominent than the others. So yeah, it's the plastic, guys. It's not the paint. So I'm glad I'm aware of that. So basically now, if you're using this plastic from India, not the English stuff, and you're using Outlaw Paints, you might just want to mist it on, or even if you're using LP paints, because obviously this plastic is becoming attacked by the paint, which is a good thing because it means it's keying really well. The other option is to give it a coat of MRP, Mr. Surfacer, Outlaw Paints primer or whatever, just to sort of give it a primer, and then use like a Tamiya or a Mr. Hobby thin with water or acrylic thinners, and then you won't get that reaction because it isn't hot enough to bite in. As you can see, there's no reaction there at all. So there we go. You learn something every day, don't you? So that's our yellow blade done, so we can mask that one up now when it's all dry and everything, and we're good to go. Just to show you what it's going to look like, because I know you like to see what it's going to look like. You can start to see some colour coming together now. We've got the yellow and we've got the red. It's looking pretty dandy, isn't it? Looking very nice indeed, and that's the blade that would stay static if it was folded, and the others would fold up. So there we go. Thank you for watching. That's been part 12, not part 11, as I said at the beginning. We will move on. I think what I'll probably do is get these rotor blades painted. I'll probably show you how I do this tail rotor, but I'll probably just get these painted, and then we can mask everything off and then get the rotor head done. But it's all looking good. So very, very pleased with it indeed. So yeah, forget what I said about Outlaw Paints. Thoroughly recommend them. I was very surprised, to be honest, we had that problem, because I've done tests wet on plastic and had no issue. So it's this plastic and that particular seam that's really sticking out now. That one, I can really see it there. So and that one, blimey. So yeah, it's the plastic, it's not the Outlaw Paints. Right, panic over. See you for part 13. Thanks guys, bye for now.